everybody. I hope you're doing well as we get ready for the quiz that we will take tomorrow. And we're going to cover the most important topics that will be on tomorrow's quiz. We're looking at the basics of angles, and I want to show you again how we work through questions 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we know that line segment GL intersects line segment IE at point S. And we know that angle ISL is 115 degrees. So remember that ISL is the same as LSI. So we already know that the measure of angle LSI is 115 degrees. That's an obtuse angle. So what other things do we know? We know that when lines intersect, on the opposite side of an angle is another angle that has the same measure. So angle GSE, ESG, is also 115 degrees. Then, in order to figure out angle LSE and angle GSI, we know that the total number of degrees in a circle, this is not a perfect circle, is 360 degrees. And then if we look at just one side of that circle, we could look like here, for example. Half of 360 is 180. So that means that this total is 180 degrees of the circle, half of the circle. So that means that we can figure out this missing angle by subtracting from 180. So we can say 180 minus 115 equals 65. Make sure you regroup here. So that tells us that we have a 65-degree angle here, and we have a 65-degree angle here in the opposite position. This is angle LSE and angle GSI. The next thing I want us to do is I want us to annotate the different relationships that we might use answering these next questions. So linear pairs look like the following. So you have a line, you have an angle, or rather another line segment that gives us two angles on the other side of the line. So a linear pair looks like this, where two angles are next to each other. Complementary angles, you can look up on the reference sheet, are angles that add or they sum to have a total of 90 degrees. Supplementary angles are found the same way, except their total is 180 degrees. Congruent angles are angles that have the same degree measure. They're equal. Then finally, vertical angles are angles that are opposite each other when we see an intersection. So for example, these angles would be vertical. I'm not going to redo the annotations as I go through the other questions, but I do suggest that you annotate one time in order to answer these questions correctly. Knowing these definitions is the key thing to getting the grade that you want on this quiz. Almost everybody is already doing this part very well, but to get the grade that you want, trust me, you want to be able to deal with the vocabulary. You cannot pass the quiz, let alone get a B or an A, without being able to know what vocabulary describes what kind of features of the angles. Next thing that I want you to do is I want you to re-sketch this for each question, so that it's going to be easy for you to know which angles you're talking about and to illustrate the relationship. Because if we do all of our diagramming up here, we're going to make a mess of this diagram. It's going to be difficult. But by separating the diagram for each question, it's going to be much easier for us to focus on what's being asked. You're going to see it's going to be pretty simple. Okay, so the first, question 6 asks us about GSI right here in red, and LSE right here in red. So I'm going to color in those two angles on my diagram, red and red, like this. I'm going to do the other two annotations now. Again, GSI, but this time we're talking about GSI with LSI. So that's up here in the upper right in black. You might think about why I'm using two colors for this diagram, but only one color for this one. And then finally, LSI in black with ESG in black. All right, cool. Now we'll go back to question 6 and we'll do 6, 7, and 8 using process of elimination and our annotations. Hopefully, as you get better at this, you won't have to eliminate all the time because you'll know the definitions well. But for right now, we will use process of elimination. Okay. So looking at these two angles that we annotated, are they linear pairs? Are they next to each other? No, they're not. They're across from each other. They're opposite each other. They're not next to each other. They're not linear pairs. They're each 65 degrees. So when we add them together, when we sum them, do we get a total of 90? No. The total here is 130 degrees. So these are not complementary angles. Are they supplementary angles? Is their sum 180 degrees? No. It's 130. Are they congruent angles? Do they have the same degree measure? Are they equal? Yes, they're both 65 degrees. And remember, this is a choose all that apply question. Are they vertical angles? Are they opposite each other? Yes, they are. They're not next to each other. They're across from each other. They're opposite each other. So they're vertical angles and they're congruent. And you should know that vertical angles are always congruent. Just like here, 65 and 65, 115 and 115. If they're in those positions, they're going to have the same measure. They're going to be congruent. All right. Next one. Now we're comparing these two angles. Linear pairs. Are they next to each other? Yes. Are they complementary? Do they have a sum of 90 degrees? No. How do I know that? Well, this one is 65 and this one is 115. So when I add those together, I get 180. Okay. Are they congruent? Do they have the same number of degrees, the same angle measure? No, they don't. They're different. Are they vertical angles? Do they have this kind of opposite position or this kind of opposite position? No, because they're next to each other. So you see, when you have linear pairs, they are not vertical. Just like in the last one, you had vertical but not linear pairs. You can only be one or the other, either vertical or linear pairs. So these are not vertical. Are they supplementary angles? Do they have a sum equal to 180? Yes, 65 plus 115 is 180. Question 8. What is the relationship between angle LSI and ESG. This is already annotated, so I don't really need to look back to the top. Are they linear pairs? Are they next to each other? No. Are they complementary? Do they have a total of 90 degrees? Let's see, this is 115, and this is 115. So when I add those together, I get 230. So no, they don't add to equal 90. Are they vertical? Are they located across from each other, opposite each other? Yes. Are they supplementary? Do they add to equal a total of 180? No. Are they congruent? Do they have the same number of degrees? Yes. All right, nice job. This is how I want you to annotate your questions and answer them tomorrow. This is what your work should look like when you turn it in tomorrow on the quiz. If you were confused about vertical angles and linear pairs, please watch the other quick videos that I am putting in the same email to you. A quick video on linear pairs and a quick video on vertical angles. Thank you.